School is the one place where I'm completely lost.
Schools could do a much better job
In
of building
school, you
community.
need to
I have my
build
hand
Feels
up
like
all the
I'm
time.
always
Is
doing
anyone
wrong
even
and
noticing
feeling
me?
bad.
I feel invisible. I really like my one teacher. She's
Don't
Some
say
teachers
it.
are
You wanna
understanding.
go over there
My
and calm
teachers
down?
recognize I
He
have a
helped me
learning
get an
issue.
assessment.
I don't want to go to school
To get
anymore due to
bullied.
being bullied at school.
There's
I
bullying.
failed 2
I don't
classes
feel
right after
welcome.
the assault.
We don't all come from stable homes.
Welcome to the School Attendance Review podcast, where we talk about the Yukon education system, the school attendance review done by the Child and Youth Advocate Office, and how that review relates to what's happening right now for Yukon students. So I have the pleasure of being back here with Annette King, the Child and Youth Advocate for the Yukon, for episode 4 of this series. And Annette was in episode 1, and now we have her back for this topic, mental health and trauma and personal factors, the two big ones for today.
That's right. Thanks
Yeah.
for continuing this, Maxime.
Yeah, no problem. It's been fun. And so last episode, episode 3, belonging and culture, we chatted with Christopher. One of the big themes there was like kids don't leave themselves at the door when they go into school, and you know, home life things really affect their ability to learn. I'm assuming that's a huge intersection with this one too.
Yeah, with personal factors and mental health and trauma, it's clear that these are not just part of what the Department of Education is addressing. It takes a holistic approach to addressing these issues.
Sure. Yeah. And so I wanted to quote from the review. It says, there is a range of personal factors, including poverty, substance abuse, violence, intergenerational trauma, mental health issues for the child or in the family, lack of value placed in education, and other systemic issues that prevent children from prioritizing school attendance in their own lives. So do you want to just speak to that?
Absolutely. So this is where we could see lots of different factors that are impacting children of all ages in attending school. And when we collected the data, we collected it pre-COVID. And I think one of the things that came out of COVID's response was a lot more recognition of the mental health challenges people in our community are facing, and probably a little bit less stigma. I think we are more open and aware and talking about the mental health challenges. And really during that time, it was kind of like nobody's okay and it's okay.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
Yeah. And so sometimes like the biggest thing that can make a difference is for a school or a place that young people go being one of those protective factors against all of these challenges in life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they spend so much of their life there, so many hours every day.
That's right. And then COVID-19 came in, and the response to COVID-19 came in, and everything that was already there was amplified.
Yeah. So just in terms of COVID for our listeners, like what was the timeline of this?
Yeah, we
How did
collected
that-
data for the 3 years up until March 2020 when the schools were closed.
So basically everything was pre-COVID in this
All of our
review.
data was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And then especially for young people, and especially for young people with challenges, everything just got worse.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's really hard.
Yeah.
I have an elder quote here. And I know a lot of parents were struggling, especially during COVID when kids were home and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But this quote would have been before COVID even. And the elder said, there are a lot of parents who are struggling out there. They're going through a hard time, and many are single parents too. It's tough to get your kids up, dressed, fed, and out the door if you yourself aren't feeling good about how your life is going. Sometimes no food for lunches, maybe no clean clothes. Was that kind of a theme you found?
Certainly, yeah, we really appreciated the elder articulating it like that. As part of our review, we talked to lots of young people, we talked to service providers, we talked to First Nations, and we called parents with the families that we knew that were struggling with attendance. And we heard many different stories from families about what was the barriers for them. And this was sometimes it's just too much to put all of that together and then get your child there as well. And it's no fault of the family or of the child, but the consequences impact everybody.
Yeah, for sure. I could see that. That's really hard. And a reminder to our listeners, we're talking about K to 12 students here.
Right.
We're talking about little kids in kindergarten. We're talking about teenagers and young adults too, all the way at the other end. So I wanted to share another quote here from a school council member. One of our greatest concerns was a lack of availability of mental health supports. The half day from Health and Social Services in a school of 700 at FH doesn't work, for example. The person needs to be on site, making relationships, have the social interactions, build the relationship of trust. If you don't have that, you don't go very far.
Yeah, so we made a recommendation in this review that there'd be clinical counselors or social workers in every school. Mental wellness was providing a bit of counseling or drop-in counseling to some of the schools, particularly the high schools. But we think that there needs to be counselors that are part of the school community, that are there to support the students, the educators as well, to sort of be part of that whole context and see what's going on in the cultural environment of that school. And we made that recommendation in this report in 2021. We made it again when we did the school safety responses and so we released that report in 2022. And then now the confidence and supply agreement has suggested that as well. And so it does seem to be an interest in having this happen. Yeah. So this is a big success if it actually does happen. Right. And we're still waiting, but we're being told that that's the plan.
It's sort of in progress. Yeah. 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 I know from my work in the territorial youth strategy side of things, that was a huge theme as well. We heard from so many young people about the importance of making mental health more accessible, mental health resources. Right. Yeah. And in the schools was like always the biggest suggestion of like counselors in the school. Wasn't it? That's where the kids are. Yeah. And having counselors who look like them and they can relate to was a really big request as well. Yeah. Yeah. And so that was one of the recommendations. I know there's another recommendation you made about policies for schools to manage chronic absenteeism, right?
Right. So every school council is responsible to have a policy for attendance. And we'd like to see a coordinated response to reviewing those policies and having strategies to promote engagement in schools. And I think that, we're hearing this not just from teachers or principals that are concerned about attendance. We're hearing from their support people. We're hearing it from families. I think there's a common understanding that attendance is an issue, and also a common understanding that it's actually not attendance that's the problem.
Yeah, it's the barriers too.
Yes. So it's really looking at these barriers and then coming back to that core theme that belonging is the answer. So if we can connect kids to schools and have their families support this and create a safe way to engage in a school community, we're probably going to get more barriers removed.
Yeah, and I know a lot of those pull factors for young people in schools can be extracurriculars and sports teams and role models. Yeah, that was a huge thing.
Yeah, so like those are the kinds of things that need to be considered. So if you like sometimes if a young person doesn't show up to school enough, then they are removed from extracurricular activities, or sometimes they're even suspended for not attending. So then they're attending less, right? And so what does that do for engagement, right? So I think there just needs to be some real consideration on how to address the issue in a way that works for each school community.
Yeah. And so this is all from the review, but I'm sure in the last few years, there's been a lot of this as well. Can you just update us on what's happening now?
Yeah, our data is increasing in this area. Right now, in April 2024, we have 58 current open attendance issues.
Wow. We talk a lot about what's challenging, but have you seen any success stories or what is working well in terms of building a sense of community in schools?
Yeah, in our individual advocacy, we're always looking for a resolution to the issue or the case that we're addressing. Yeah. And we have seen some of those where children are re-engaged in school. And it's because somebody took the time to get to know that child and family and what they need.
Someone from the school.
Probably from the school. Sometimes it's an external support person that helps liaise with them. And, I really think these relationship-based strategies that connect with students and their families and provide whatever supports are needed to remove the barriers to the absenteeism are going to make the biggest difference for these children. And that kind of investment is bigger than just that child, right? It impacts the rest of the school community and the future. So I think this is why we need to keep on this and address it in that way.
Yeah, it's so important. And being sort of in the outside and being able to look in on all these different themes in the review, it seems like they're all at the end of the day related to relationships or relationship based in some way. Like the challenges that we're facing often relate to maybe lack of positive relationships, and all the solutions that are recommended relate to positive relationships.
Yeah, that's really what this one comes down to, isn't it? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Annette, for being with us again.
You're right.
And we do have another episode coming up. We're going to be chatting with Rachel about educational supports and behavioral supports. So stay tuned for that one.